Okay, we should be live. Welcome everybody here, and today we're going to do the third episode of our AIProg here. So the AIProg is a crate I created to do tool calling, rather than, to go from tool calling to program running. So the goal here of this crate, and it's in Rust, and we're going to code in Rust today, and the way it works, and the way it works is that, the way it works is this way, which is basically we are taking, hey, void byte, nice to see you. And so the goal here is rather to do the tool calling business, such as we are sending a list of tools, and then the AI tell us each tool to call once at a time, almost. And then we call them, and then we send back the result and all these kind of things. The goal here is to have a Rust runtime with Lua, which is an embedded scripting. And then we can give our API doc, we send our instruction, and then the AI send back a program. So the text answer and the program, and we run the program. Such as from a Lua standpoint, you just write programs. It doesn't think about tool calling anymore. You just have a set of API, and you can call all the things. And the beautiful things about that is that eventually we can take any MCPs or tools or anything and make them dynamically API Lua. So that is where it's going to get very powerful. And all of that, the power of that is because of Rust. Rust allows us to do so amazing things. And the Rust Lua is a 400 kilobyte scripting engine that is written in C, but with MLua, it kind of is like if it were in Rust. So it's all beautiful. So that is the goal of the things. And we have done like 2 episodes, and I've been adding quite a bit here on these kind of things. So that is what we're building here, AIP codes. Is we're building the AIProg, which is a crate which allows us to send instructions to AI, which allows us to run Lua programs and to register our own custom Rust function to be able to be callable in Rust. And this way, we can tell the AI to write programs rather than doing function calling. So that is a goal. Yeah? So at the high level here, we are going from tool calling to program running. That is a goal. And and today what we're going to do is we're going to do 2 things. We're going to add the html.slim and the html2md. So those will be Lua APIs, but the code that we're going to write is going to be Rust APIs. Yeah? So that is a goal. So let me now go to the code. And so the repo for that is actually zcoder. So if you go, so the whole goal here, there's a lot of it. zcoder.run. If you go to the GitHub, and I need to make it a little bit, no. So this one, sorry, the repo for that, I have a best practice here. I put it in the README because every time I hunt for them otherwise. So this zcoder will move there into the zcoder-run repo. And so that is a repo here, and I can put it in the comments here. So that is a guy. And I just deployed the 0.02. Okay, it's very early right now. Don't really use it, but there's a lot of cool patterns here that I can share. So now, one of the things, hey, do you know any? Yes, so I did a while back about Axum. It's on my, if you go to Rust 10x, this is a site that I'm going to redo here. I left it a little bit, and I think, and it's on my YouTube channel, yeah, but sometime I go here. There's an Axum here. Where it is? You see, I don't even know. That is Axum. Okay, Axum full course. It's kind of dated a little bit, but there's good patterns there. So this guy here. Okay, the guy is just there. Yeah. So hopefully that will be that. And I'm not sorry about the delay. When I started again, I forgot to put low latency. I never know. I need to test with the low latency stuff. So, and yes, I think the doc axiom is pretty good. Yeah, there's some patterns that we need to look at when we do the axiom. I might do some live about axiom because at some point I'm going to do quite a bit of axiom. I always say that, but I will get there. So, hey, Xavier, nice to see you, you guys. So I did quite a bit of change here. Again, in AIProg, we have these things. So the way that the code works now is we have the source here. So we have the script engine that kind of relay out, simplifies the code design. We have the Lua extension. So that is the extension patterns to allow us to have all of these convenient functions here for Lua object. For the JSON, I have my Lua-ext crate that I'm using. And then we have all the modules. So the modules, that is going to be in the context of AIProg. This is all my program. So for example, here we see, and I've cleaned up quite a bit of the whole thing. So we have the registry over there, and then we even have schema ref there. So right now what we're doing is we're doing a little overview of the AIProg kind of things. And then we're going to do a code review in a way, a Rust code review of that. And then we're going to implement these two guys. It's pretty cool. So I have a little crate, which is htmlr, which allows us to slim an HTML and to markdown an HTML and so on. So it's a little helper crate on top of HTMD and scraper and all of these cool crates. And then we're going to bring that into AIProg, such as in AIProg, we have those Lua functions. And again, the goal of those Lua functions is that now the AI will be able to code that. Yeah, so we can say, hey, download 10 pages, and for each of these pages, do a slim, which is remove all the non-necessary tags and attributes, or do a 2MD. And that is just one program. It doesn't have to ping pong for the 10 of them. Yeah, so that is going to be pretty cool. So right now, the code review is like that. So we have the JSON here, API. And what is zcoder? And again, here, I'm sorry for the delay. Zcoder is a new coding harness that I'm building. It's not, the getting started is misleading here because it's just like a silly demo right now. But is going to be a new coding harness, which is parallel first. And so the goal here is you will be able to have the concept of workbench, and a workbench can work, multiple workbench can work on the same work tree. And the goal is to have this workbench-centric development. Yeah, so that is the goal. So now, so that is going to be the goal. And one of the things is, and this is why I'm spending time on AIProg, is rather to go like every other coding harness. And I understand people think coding harness is solved and it's great. Like for me, I have actually my own things, which is today that I'm using, which is AIPack, which is done in Rust. And it's Procoder. It's a pack inside Procoder. And it has a workbench over there. And the thing here is that it does the development, and then you can do these kind of things, and it has a whole workbench-centric way, and we might see it over there. That is a coder prompt. And I want to have a zcoder, which is going to be much simpler here. So that is a goal, and the zcoder, sorry. It will be much more familiar, the way we type. Right now, the Procoder is a little bit unique. I love it, and I use it all the time, and I'm going to code zcoder with Procoder. And in many ways, I have this kind of diagram here, which is this one, yes. So right now I'm using the Procoder, yeah, which is a pack, which is on top of AIPack to code zcoder, okay? And the zcoder will have the Lua and everything. So there's a lot of things that I'm bringing from AIPack into zcoder. And so I'm splitting stuff away, yeah? The thing I like a lot about architecture is you want always the parts of the system to be very smart at one thing, and dumb at everything else. And so that is what I'm doing right now. Like if you look at AIPack, the AIPack business is very powerful. I mean, it's amazing what it can do. It's a unique way of using it, but you have all of these Lua APIs. So all of that will come into AIProg. Now, the beauty about that is that AIProg doesn't know about zcoder. So you will be able to build your own coding harness or anything, agent or whatever, with that scheme. And all of these APIs, in some way, will get into the AIProg. And then zcoder or your program can even add custom APIs. And then you give the surface to the AI to say, hey, here's the surface you have. And now you can code this way. So this is a little bit the way it works. So it's going to be very powerful here. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm doing just AIP JSON and AIP web. We're going to do an AIP HTML. So I'm not bringing the 150 APIs because I'm shaping the way that I want to do the handlers. In AIPack, it's kind of embedded into the whole AIPack kind of things. Here, the AIP in a way doesn't know too much about AI, ironically, but it's all about creating these things. So for example, I'm going to give you an example here, which is, and I'm sorry here, I didn't put the chat here. So now we can see the chat over there. And one of the thing here is, for example, I have a Lua function, which is AIP, AIProg, which is also AIPack. So that was convenient. That's why AIP.json.parse. And so now I want that to be implemented in Lua, in Rust, but to be exposed in Lua. So now the way you do it is you have a struct, which is AIP JSON parse output, and you give your output. So that gives you the ability to document this guy. And then you have to have the into Lua trait, AIP. So that's the way I did it. You have the output here, which is in this case, this case is this guy, which is implement value there. And then you have your params, which is the most important thing. So if you look at AIP, okay, AIP, JSON, parse, params. Okay, so it put the type over there. I don't like the way it's organized, but that is the params that this function takes. Okay, so that is the way it works. So now he's going to say, okay, AIP staff, take this. And let me fix that because I actually really don't like, I think it's AI that. That shouldn't have been there. Okay, that shouldn't be there. I don't know why. Yeah, sometimes it's shared, and so this is me a little bit being maniac about the code here. So I have the params here, and then I have the output here. Yeah, so what I'm saying is to say, hey, the AIP, here is the params, and this is type, and you are going to see super powerful after. I have a cool demo here waiting for you. So be patient. Then you have you say, okay, this is a param, this is a marker trait in a way. Okay, it doesn't do much, but he said this is a params, so that allows us to make sure that he has everything. Then he said that is the output. So this one output just a Saturday value, which is anything. Yeah. And then we say that is output, and then we implement it. Okay, so very simple to implement. The nice thing here is that you're in a Rust land. Now with that little things, the registry, the way you do it is you add all of these handlers. Yeah. So for example, if you go to the AIP, if you go on top, yeah, we are, okay. It's AI reorganize the thing. Sometimes AI, it's reorganizes the thing the way I don't like it. So that is, one thing I need to do. I need to clean this one up. I didn't know that. It kind of put a mess. So the thing I like is on top of my module, I export what we're exporting. And so when you can see here that I register sync, because it's sync API, AIP, parse, and then I give my handler. And because in the handler, I have my JSON params, and I have these types over there. Now the registry knows all of that at compile time. Okay? So now here's the beauty of it. I just did that. Yes. I have an example here, which is, I'm going to remove this guy. I'm going to see why. I have an example, which is this one. And then here it is. We're creating the script engine. And if you go to the script engine here, you are going to see that that is a Lua, mlua guy. Okay. That is a vector of all of the register functions. And then here I'm doing an init registry. Okay. And then I'm adding the registry there. So the init registry will create the registry with all of the other guys. Yes. So I have the JSON, I have the web, and I have the file reads and file write and all of that now. Yeah. This file read is only implemented. So that basically creates an AIP registry, and then I combine them and I can merge them. The reason of that is because I want us to be able to add our own, like in your own program, you can add your own registry and then combine it to the latest one. So you can build your own things like that. So you can say, hey, init registry or default registry, this one is called the default one, I think. And then once you get it, you can merge it to your own registry. And then once you have that, okay, so this will be the new, so you return the registry. So now I am in my C03 doc. I can say, hey, generate doc. So with all of the function that I have registered, it will generate the doc dynamically. Okay, and now I can print the doc in the terminal, or I can save it there. So now if I do this, and let me, so this is where I have Z here. And this is tmux, it's alacrity with tmux. So I have, this is my little way, and then I already have a watch exec. So what I have usually is a cargo watch example, and it's not cargo watch, it's watch exec now. So if you do functions, cargo watch exec, you get this one. Yeah. So I like this kind of function a lot. So like this, I don't have to type stuff. So CWE and C03 doc. Okay. And it does a write cargo watch the way I do. And sometimes I go and I change that and so on. So that's the way I like to work. Now I do that, and then boom, it runs very nicely. Now it runs the thing in it printed it here. But if you go to out, you can see that it printed the doc. Now here's the magic. All of the things that we have done in Rust with the types and everything and the documentation was using schema.rs. So schema.rs is one of this. I mean, it's a godsend crate, you know, obviously. So if you go there, crates, schema.rs, that is, I mean, as big as it could be, you know, this is crazy stuff. 300 million, I mean, this is probably one of the top guy. And that basically allows you to annotate your class with JSON schema, and that will create a JSON schema out of it. And so that is super useful here to do all these kind of things. Yeah. Let me see the question here. Void bike. You're asking, hey, in the registry, you could technically entries and register path with just one hash map. Yes, so that is what the registry is doing here. But there's a lot of stuff in it. Yeah. So this is what the registry is doing in short. But then we have the handler, which we don't really need when we generate the doc. And so there's a whole thing here that I'm still optimizing. But yes, the registry is basically register the things into a hash map in a way. Yeah. So that is what it does. So if we go to registry here, it's getting pretty good. I mean, it's not perfect yet, but it's getting there. So that is a pattern I like. Sometimes I repeat a little bit. It's true, it's duplicate, but this is the implementation, this is internal, this is the types. It allows me to keep the thing clean, have whatever naming works for you. If I just do AIProg and internal and types under registry, technically it will be good, but then it's kind of odd. Yeah. And this way they align well. So that is a practice that I have. This is basically what is happening in my registry. Yes, you have a hash, you have a register hash set, registry path, and the entries here. I think these two stuff. I don't really know why. Why is not a hash set over there? You can have a hash map. Yeah, there might be a reason. I don't. I could do, yeah, that could be in a hash map. The value is that everything is, I think it could be in a hash map. This could be a refactor later. Yeah, that could be in a hash map, perhaps. I'm not 100% sure, but it might be, yeah. Now, that is where it happened, yeah. It's a register, and then you took the generic type, so everything is statically compiled, so it's pretty cool. So now, when you do that, you see that the whole doc, when we did that, because of the Rust typing and everything, generate that guy. And here's a trick here. In AI, people are liking sending JSON schema and everything. It looks good, it looks stuff and things. The problem is JSON schema is pretty heavy. Yeah. And docs comes in all shape and forms. Yeah. TypeScript is actually a very good language for scripting language. So even if Lua is not TypeScript, the TypeScript format is a good, well-known from AI and stuff, format to express types, okay? So the way here of these docs is to be as concise as possible. That is the goal, because this way you reduce the number of tokens that the AI will get and it will understand it better. So you want to be concise and complete, but you want to have both. So the way here that I spent quite a bit of time in the engine doc generator here is to make sure that I reformat the type, which is a JSON schema rs, yeah, but I reformat it in TypeScript this way. And so it's very, very consistent here. The decision I made for the Lua APIs is that everything is a single param, so it's name parameters rather to be arguments. And then you have a type like this. And then I just do it like that, very simple. Yeah. And the goal here, and this one is a little bit repetitive everywhere, I need to simplify it. And this one, for example, that is because it's a shared type. Now the doc is doing the right thing, and the file info is shared across everything, but look at that. If I go to shared, I have all my shared type there. And this is as small and as efficient you can for AI. And again, the goal here of AIProg, which is a crate, it's to allow the AI to respond to us with a program of our choosing. So I think, I mean, I'm always overexcited. I think it's super powerful and in a way, in a very geeky way, a paradigm change on the ways that you communicate. You have AI writing programs because it's not about tool calls anymore. They can do for loops, if else and stuff, and we have the whole sandbox. Yeah. So that is something that could be, I think for me, for zcoder, is something I need because I don't want to do the ping pong of tool callings. Yeah. So in a way, ping pong is like very fast. Tennis is, so for me, I want to play tennis. I don't want to play ping pong. So that is a way to have less kind of back and forth and more stronger back and forth. Yeah. So that is a goal. So now I've done this little refactor here. And so the way it works, if you were going, I mean, this code clean, I will do that later, probably with AI. And with AI, what I will say is, hey, make sure that the init is always on top. And I would say, I will format a file the right way. And I will say, hey, follow the other guys. So that is the way I will work with AI. Now, the way I like to have it in my examples, C01 simple and so on is that way, yes, which is basically the script engine like that. And then we have, so I have C01 simple, which is always this name. And the goal of that is to have the simplest way of using the library. So that is I like. And then I go up in complexity in a way of function. So that is a little bit my best practice. There's also ways, but this way it allows to take people into a journey a little bit. And C is like for chapter in a way, because E was like error. So the way that it works, you see, we create the script engine. And because in the script engine, we have our JSON parse, we can parse a text, and then we can print it. And here we can also stringify something. So we can create a JSON, a Lua object, which is like a JSON. And then we can say, hey, stringify it, and stringify in pretty. Okay, and then we return test. So now if I go back to my guy here, and I'm going to do a C01 simple. So this one is not going to output files. Is going to do that. Yes, so we did a parse. So that is a debug print of the CRD value back. So that is what we have. That's good. And then we have the stringify. So we pass a string. We did the pretty true. And then that is how I stringify. So now it's pretty cool because now the AI can have that. Yeah. So that is a goal. And the goal that we're going to add here is we're going to add something like that. Look, I did here. It's actually funny. So we're going to do that, copy paste that there, and we're going to call it C4 HTML. Yeah. And in the HTML, what we're going to want here is we're going to want to have a couple of new functions. And yes, we're going to have a couple of new functions. One is going to be a HTML Slim. So I like the Slim. So the Slim will remove styles and all of these like tags that are not needed for content. Yeah. So that is something that I implemented in htmlr, and then we're going to put it there. So right now I have this print aip.html.slim, and that will be, the test will be something like, we're going to do HTML text or string. And in Lua, you can do these kind of things to have multi-line. That is the way it works. And here we're going to put some text. Well, you are going to see what I'm going to put later. And then we're going to do JS HTML. And then we're going to do Slim. And then because here again is we have to name parameters like that, we're going to have HTML. That's fair enough. And then we're going to do HTML string. That is a way that we want. And that we create another one, which is HTML Slim. And then we're just going to return the HTML Slim. Or we can do like that, I guess. That would be better. So this is what we're going to do. And obviously, if we run it now, that will kaboom. Yeah, so far so good, because it will say, hey, there's no HTML Slim. Actually, I don't know how the error works. It's not clear, it's not fully done. So I'm going to do a CWE. And I just want to make sure that I have it looks small to me, but tell me if it's too small, yeah, for the video. I don't know if it's too small or not. So I have this thing to toggle profiles in Z and alacrity again. It does the stuff for me. So I do a CWE, which is again my cargo wash exec, cargo example, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to do a C04, 04-HTML. And that should be kaboom. Yeah, error, syntax, so far so good. So the error is terrible here. Yeah, it doesn't say anything, so I'm going to have to change that. That's very important because we want to make sure that if the program doesn't run, we send it back to AI to say, hey, here's the cause and everything. So right now, this is as bad as it gets. I will fix that later. Yeah. But we know what the issue is. The issue is there's no function over there. And it's not the mlua. Yeah. So what AIProg is using, we're using mlua, which is this guy. Yeah. This is very, very good. Super high quality stuff. So that is what we do. So obviously that doesn't work. Makes sense. So I go back. So usually I have this setup here. This is where I put my procoder, yeah, which is my stuff before zcoder. So when I do AI coding today, we're going to do at the beginning fixed code, hand coding, and then we'll go later. And so right now I do that, and I'm going to do git AC, which is append commit, and I'm going to do plus AIP.html. We're going to do the slim for now. Okay. So the way I do here is that now I have that guy, and then I'm going to do commit on top of it, and then I will collapse them into that guy, such as we have a clean commit about this functionality. That is what I like to do. Yeah. And the reason why here, this is, you don't see it here, but I can show you. This guy is where I have my .workbench. So that is when I work with procoder. This is a subfolder, which is not in the main Git, and I still have a Git on this guy. But that is where I put my stuff when I have AI running, my chat, my plan, and everything. And that is another terminal on the same guy. So usually I have the AI here, and then here I do the git commit and all these kind of things. So that is the way I like to have that, and I have shortcut in Tmux to create that. So that's the way it does. And I like to have all shortcut and everything very short to type, such as I can do stuff. And by the way, I'm using a new tool right now, which is Godson. If you are on Mac and you are a geek, use that. This is Godson. This allows you to create your windows. So that is a way that I have this little guy here. You can do even animation. And so now my Alacrity Tmux is like if it was integrated to my Z. I can create it from it, I can navigate projects. So when I do something like that, I can create projects. It looks if there's a matching terminal and all of that. And so this is, and I can delete projects and stuff. And so that is a big one. Big fan of Hammerspoon. And all of this code is always, if you go to a JCZ task, I think. So that is some task I've done. You should see that. And then within that, I put all the open source for zconfig, the start, and even now the GC hammer, which is my hammer spoon for this kind of stuff. So you can cherry pick what you want. So that is what is pretty cool. So now what we want is we want to implement this new guy. So we'll have two ways of doing it. Is one with AI or one with by hand. Yeah. If I could do a quick vote, I will do a vote right now. But then after I need I see some AIP docs. I'm sorry here, I'm late to answer. Yes, right now, so Xavier, you have a good chance. I see some AIP docs not having description. Yes, right now, honestly, my documentation, so I made the generate doc and everything. I spent quite a bit of time there. The documentation itself is not there yet. I need to document it more. The way it works is I have the document today. The way that stuff works is I take the params guy, the param description is what end up to be the function description. And then those guys become the property description, which is fine because there's no reason to have a description on the params because it's the property of the parent. So that is a way I've done it, such as I don't have to have a proc macro on the handlers, because once I have the type, I have all the information. And today I haven't spent time to add this doc, but honestly, I will have AI adding it. So I will say, hey, you AI. And so usually what I do is I do it where on one, and then I say, hey, look at this one and follow the same pattern for the other guys. Yeah. So right now, for example, the thing I don't like about the way it does is like have output type. I don't like it. I want it to have it like this within the same code region for each function. And then if it's a shared type, I want it at the bottom. So this is something a code clean that I will do later, probably with AI. But right now, what we're going to do is I'm going to use my super cool open here with Hammer Spoon, and we're going to go to htmlr. So that is this little crate that I've implemented. And it's just a little wrapper on top of scraper and these guys and html.md. Okay. Okay, so then there's a lot of stuff here. Now the way that I like, I'm trying to articulate it in my head. When we code, so first of all, there's a lot of emotion about AI. We shouldn't look at emotion. We should be emotionless. It doesn't matter. People that are excited or under-excited or over-skeptical or over-excited, we need to ignore that. It's just silly. Yeah. The point is that AI is a tool, and AI is changing the ways that we're coding. It changes the ways that I am coding. It doesn't change expertise, just multiply expertise. But now I can be much more OCDs because I'm not doing all the little change. I know what's need to be done, and then I don't need to. I know that AI can do it, can follow whatever my OCD is. So that's good. Now, one thing also is how do we document to be optimized for the Rust language as well as for AI? The problem is sometimes in Rust, it's pretty cool because we have this long documentation sometimes. Yeah, so if we go to LM, we could have a very long documentation for the LM type, for example. And in this case, it will add a lot of weight into the code. And it will work, the AI will work, but then it has to you want to fix a bug, then it gets the whole doc in the face, yeah? And it's not really as optimal as it could be. In Rust, we have this way where we can have a doc like this at the module level or at the type model, yeah? For this one, for example, could be better at the LM, for example. I don't think it should be there. But that, it depends how I export LM. Yeah, so I'm flattening out. So this one is a bad example, for example, because it shouldn't be at the thing. Actually, I can change it right now. So the way that I like to do it for the big doc, for the small doc, I put it there. For the big doc, when it's big, yeah, because I need to explain the stuff and give example, rather to have all of this weight inside my code, I have it like that. And Rust works beautifully with that. Yeah, so I do like that. So obviously here I don't want that. So now I don't want in the LM because the LM is a module that actually I flatten out. Yeah, so that would be, it was not good to have it there. So I'm going to have it on the type. And now I do a docs, Rust doc, LM. And so I put that. And then sometimes I ask AI to create a doc for LLM as well. But with that, that allows me to have a clean doc and AI friendly in a way, because I can ask AI to fix that and then fix this guy. So that is a little bit the way that I like to do that. And if I were going to see code clean, doc ref, for example, and this is a little stuff that I'll hack to generate the doc. Now I have that. And now the cool thing with HTML, I have this long doc here, which is nice. Yeah. And I should be able to have a struct. And when I go to LM, I have all this stuff on LM. But my code oops, sorry. My code was actually didn't get polluted with that. So that is what I use it. Not for everything. Sometimes, if it's very small, you inline the document. But if it's something which is pretty big, because LM is pretty critical and you need to explain it and stuff, this is a good pattern. So that is what I'm starting to use here in HTMLR. And then I'm going to have that over there. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. If you have any question, feel free to ask as usual. Now, one thing we want to do, so we have this HTMLR and we have deployed it. So if we go to the web over there and we go to crates, HTMLR. Before I had a HTML-helper, but I don't like the long name. So this one, nobody is using it. It doesn't matter. I mean, I just released it, but it's just for us. And it's an early release, yeah, so right now, but it has a nice kind of slim kind of things. So that's pretty cool. So in fact, we can probably take that. We are going to have the .1.02. I don't know if I already have it. HTMLR. Yes. So we're going to have that guy. Okay. I do that because sometimes I have path and then I go directly to the path. So that is the things. And if you look at the example here that we have, because I always have, oops, sorry, I'm in AIProg. So now I am in the HTMLR. If you look at the example, do I have example? Yes, I have my C101. And you see I have this guy. So that is what I wanted to say is I'm going to take that guy and I'm going to put it into my HTML, that guy. So like this, I'm going to have the same text over there. And basically when I trim, I shouldn't have the background red. Yeah, that is a good example of a thing. And then I shouldn't have the script. So script get kicked out. And I shouldn't have the background red. So that is the thing to check if that works. Now, the way that we'll implement that is I have the things. I will create AIP_web RS. But I will have to create all of these guys, which honestly, I'm a little bit on the lazy side. So I am on AIProg here. I'm going to amend. I just amended the other guy. I have the latest HTMLR, I think. Yeah. So that's good. And so now what I want is I'm going to do a cargo test. Okay, so I'm going to use AI now because I'm lazy. I'm using DeepSeek Flash. So one of my big things now with AI, and this is actually one thing, I've been using DeepSeek V4 Pro and DeepSeek V4 Flash for the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So my thing is big app with small models and stop chasing all of these models. They are just going to be for the family of Trump and big exec anyway. So it's better to learn how to be super efficient with smaller models than always like waiting for the next one. So that's my stuff. It's much cheaper. Now with DeepSeek things here, I can show you. I have the AI service over there. This is my cost. It's just crazy. Yeah, I run like 2 hours a day. Yeah, this is 2 hours 2 days ago or whatever. It's $2. Yeah, so it costs nothing. Yeah, and because I'm using DeepSeek.com, so if you work for an enterprise using a Chinese service provider, it's a little bit tricky. But if it's open source and stuff, the DeepSeek is no brainer because they slash the price, and the price is at 87 cents million output token. So it's crazy. Yeah. So I would strongly recommend to use that. And that is what I'm using all the time. So the way it works here with the AIPack and stuff and the Procoder is I can do this kind of things where I can say, hey, you use the Flash, that is a code model business, and that is this. And so the funny thing is, for example, one thing I could do, I could take that. So one thing I could do is I could take that, copy the path here, and I'm going to put it in my knowledge. So here, in fact, I have my JC stuff, which already have the knowledge, but I can do something like that. And so knowledge globes allows me to point anywhere, and that would get code map, and it will pick up the files that is needed. And then I have my context globe, that is a file that I want to change, and then this is the auto context, and then I'm going to put it in current, and I'm going to say that the workbench is going to be html.slim. Okay, and now I'm going to say, can I have a loop? So this is my lab, I start the lab agent loop. Yeah, so again, it's very specific. I have a video on AIPack over there. I need to do more, but basically, and here I'm using dpromax. So all of these things are aliases that you can find in your base. So if you go to .aipack-base in your home directory, you will find all of these aliases, but you can give the whole aliases. And I'm using GenAI, which is a crate I created to talk to any providers. So now what I want is to say, following the AIP JSON.rs, create AIP HTML.rs, which will expose and I'm going to give the stuff AIP HTML.slim, and I'm going to say HTML string and string. It will implement. Okay. And there's two ways here that I could do, and I never know what I should be doing. But one way is to say I do a loop or I don't do a loop. Yeah. If I were alone and I wouldn't do the stuff, I will do a loop, which means that it will keep going at it until it gets it right. And the lab loop, and to install lab, you do a AIP install. So AIP like AIPack install lab loop, and that is made for Rust. Yeah, so you turn the flag you want, and that will go and run until everything kind of passes and everything. We could do that, or I could just give it one shot. So we're going to do the one shot, I guess, for today. So I'm going to comment this out. Again, AIPack and Procoder, I mean, there's some here in the YouTube channel that are my Discord and stuff. I recognize is a little bit a very unique way of working with AI. It's really a control first. And it's not for everybody because you have to, turn on your plan, turn on your chat. Once you know, I mean, like for me, I'm completely addicted to it. I want to do zcoders that bring all of this control into a more familiar kind of flow, yeah, without losing everything. So that's my goal now. So, but I'm coding all of those guys with AIPack and Procoder because that is the way. So I'm going to do that and make sure to follow the same patterns. Okay. And now I go back to that guy and I'm going to do an AIP. I make sure that I have the AIP like AIPack. Yeah. So when you do a cargo install AIPack, that is what you have. And run pro@coder. So that is the Procoder pack that I install. Now it does a code map because there were some files over there that were not, that changed, those guys changed, yeah. And so it code map, which means that it knows a summary and, when to use and all of that of each files, such as the auto context now can reduce from all of these files, context file and knowledge files, into only the files that is needed for this prompt. So that is a way to work. So that's kind of a console of what is going on. It's not really somewhere where you interact. It's more something where you look at what's going on, with AI. So you can really see, okay, the auto context responded all of these files, which makes sense. And it's actually look at the example as well to make sure that it did the right thing. And so that is a one shot. Now we see that all of this, there were like 12 calls, was 1 second. And in fact, it was 13 seconds of AI time. But it was 1.8 because we had a concurrency of 32. And the concurrency of 32 is that guy, that number here. Now, that cost 2 cents. It's just crazy stuff. Then if you go, and this one is with Flashlight, because Flashlight is very, very fast until they double the price, because they are going to double the price, these guys. And then I will use dflash, slower, but very cheap. And then on this guy, I use DeepSeek Flash, before Flash, and that is the one that reduces the calls like that. Yeah. So it goes from 487 kilobytes of potential files to 22. And here, 100 and stuff to 4. So this is a big deal. And then it even give you the reason why he selected them. And then I go back here on this guy. And this is a trick, It's big app, small model, I mean, I want to be polite here, but I don't know. They can go somewhere, all of these people that want to rip us off, So I think that with the models that we have right now, DeepSeek V4, the reason why I'm using DeepSeek V4 is because they slash the cheap price, which is usually $4, $5 per million output, to 0.87 cents. So until they do that, I'm using them because then it's completely game changer. And so now I have these things where it did the stuff and it implemented stuff. And again, I didn't do the loop here. I disabled the loop. The way with Procoder and AIPack, so again, so it's, if you go to, oh my God, AIPack.ai, and then you go to this one, you have a Procoder kind of demo. And now it's 0.6, so it's even more stuff, but you can see the demo here. But the thing with Procoder here is that I am in a full control and I can see exactly what's going on. And so now if I go to that guy, I can see that it follows, and I like that. It follows that pattern. And it created all of these things, which is good. I didn't want to create it. Now, the thing I don't like it, but that is because my JSON is badly formatted, is that it put the params on top. Oh, no, that is good. Oh, no, it did good, actually. It did better. So I have my code region, which unfortunately in Z, it doesn't fold, but I still have them because it gives me this stuff. One day, perhaps Z will do that. I love Z. The problem of Z, honestly, is that they are spending a lot of time on AI stuff, which is great. And basic editor stuff seems to be taking a backseat. So there's a lot of things, folding of Markdown, a lot of things that are a little bit unfortunate, but it is what it is. Like, for example, here, this comment, they don't fold, which is kind of, could be frustrating. And so, and it's not to put down the team. The team did an amazing thing. It's just priority, yes. And then we have the HTML handler, and then this guy complained here. Okay, didn't write the test. That's fair enough. One day you can write the test. I didn't ask it. I don't know. So it follows a pattern, but then it did not write the test. That's fine. And that actually, do you think it will work? It might actually work. That is one thing where I don't think it will need that. It could be something like that. That sometimes AI doesn't know that. Somehow it doesn't know the from and stuff. So this is where we can simplify it. We didn't need to because there's in the error, there's a from of string implemented. So that is pretty cool. So now if we go back there, and we're going to do that guy. Okay, and we have no clue of what it is. Okay, I think I know why it is init registry. So this one is not needed. And I think I know is because this init registry, which is good, does the right thing. This indirection here, I need to remove it. I think it was, at some point, it was for test, but I need to remove that. It's not really needed. So that, the AI did write this stuff. But this init registry, if I do the registry new, which is going to be okay, so we're going to go to our script engine over there, and module init registry. Oh, that works well. You added that. So that's not cool. AIP.html.slim. Okay. Need space after return in exec examples. The savior and xvoid, you always save the day. So need space. Oh, sorry guys. That was a pretty big fail. Oh, it's beautiful. Look at that. Body stuff. We remove the style. We still have the class here, bling for the nostalgics. And then we have that, and we remove the script. All good. I mean, that is as good as it gets. That's pretty cool. I'm very happy with that. And the thing that is weird is I thought my HTML slimmer. Oh, yeah. So one thing I want to add, so I'm not going to add this. So this is value as string. So I'm going to do I'm going to format it better. Yeah. So result, I like res sometimes. Res equal res as str. Yeah. And then I do a OK or no string response. Okay, so that is a way I like, because I don't like anyhow, really don't like anyhow. And so I have my boxed in, and this is perfect, yeah, because I do a OK or, and that is part of Rust, and it fits very well. And now I put my res over there, up. And then I can go that, and because I have a cargo watch, it should boom. Yeah. So that is beautiful. Yeah. I will let you fold comment now. Technically, for Rust, you can turn LSP folding ranges. Oh, my God, this man, you're like good. Rust. What is that guy? Oh my God, this is like, you are pretty good. So, okay, so I'm going to go to Z. So you see, so this little hammer spoon actually look at the Z SQLite database to look at all the stuff. So whatever I open in Z kind of goes there kind of a nice way. and then I kind of have it there. And so what our friend xvoid say is say, so I have the Rust somewhere. Yeah. Is it here that you put it? Or is it in the, where do you put it? Into Rust? I'm going to follow what you say here. Okay. That sounds to be too good to be true. Oh my God. Why did it didn't do that by default? Awesome. Xvoid. Thank you so much. Ah, this is so good. And then if I do a key 0, okay, that is a little bit weird. Key 1. Okay, well, I don't know if they folded, but that is actually, yeah, that is a good start. Okay, awesome. And that is good. So we have this. So now we have that guy, which works pretty well. Yeah, oh, awesome, Xvoid. So that works pretty well. So one thing I didn't, I have in my API in the HTMLr is I have my things here is htmlr.slim. Oh, I'm going to show you guys a pattern that I like a lot now. And it's actually AI kind of gave it to me. You see, I have Slim here. And I wanted Slim to have a Slim options. But I wanted to have, if I don't want to bug with it, I didn't want to have to say, hey, you do a HTMLer. I mean, I could do that, yeah? And I say Slim, option, and then default. That will have been the same thing, yeah? So if I do this, I go back to my C4 because it's the way it works. I save it. Oops, sorry. And then I will do the, if I'm fast enough, I do that, okay? So that is okay, but the thing I want to say is to say, well, it's a pain, yeah, because now I need to know and update that. I don't like it. So what I like, the pattern that I like to do is the following. I want to allow none, okay? Now to allow none, the way you do it is if you go to Slim, the way to do it is you have option and you say import into Slim options. You don't do that, yeah. That will be tricky because you won't be able to implement that because you don't own either types, and you don't do and then you don't do option of something like that. You do this guy, and then for that guy, what you do, you implement the from the options. Okay, so now I have option of Slim options, and then I just unwrap default. So I just implement this guy, and now the compiler knows to say, hey, because otherwise it complains because you say, hey, I don't know which none you are talking about. Yes, and so then the none even become even more complex than just doing the default or whatever. So the nice things about that is that it allows you to have a none. There's a catch. Nothing is free. The catch is option will always be, it won't be as small. Oh, no, because actually an option is has a side of the biggest size of the variant. So an enum has a side of the biggest side of the variant. So it's actually good. So as long as you make sure that in your options, you know, you have good default and you have options and everything and stuff, it will be very small in sizes, and that works very nicely. And as a ergonomic, it's nice. You put none, and it's like, I don't even want to know the type. Now, on my stuff, I actually want to know the type because I want to, over there, I want to have the HTML So my question, so I want to have the Slim option. So I'm going to import it. I'm going to qualify it, okay. And you're going to understand what I'm doing. I'm going to do the Slim option and let option. And I'm going to do a Slim, and I'm going to do, default. Oh, I have actually a from indent, and I'm going to do 2. So it's 2 spaces, yeah. And then I'm going to put that there. That works nicely. It doesn't have to be some, yeah, because obviously it's into Slim option, and the Slim option is into Slim option, so everybody's happy. So the nice things about all of that now is that by default, one thing that I have is I have reformatted my Rust 10x in the AI prompt. Yeah, you have a lab, you have a Rust 10x base. I kind of reformatted quite a bit of things. And there's patterns, and I'm changing a lot here, but Rust, if I do a pro, there's a pattern that I like to use a lot now. So I've reformatted. So if you go, that is where you have the pro coder actually. So that is a repo, which is a Pax Pro. You can find it from AIPack. And if you install, but I've reformatted all of these guys. Yeah, so I have all the best practices. So this is all my best practices that I'm trying to put for AI. Yeah. Eventually, I need to make that a skill, but right now it's kind of a skill for ProCoder in a way. And then there's one pattern that I like a lot now is so that's the function option. This is this guy. And then there's other one, which is called the fluid and builder. And that, I made a video about this, but I made it here, which is a fluid API, which is basically you have fluid constructors and fluid chainables. I'm not being too dogmatic here, but the point is that in a constructor, you have the from underscore, which is a typical, so you have a new, you might have a new, or you might not have a new. If it's empty, you don't because it's default. But if it's failable or take some stuff, you have a new. Sometimes it's nice to have the implementing tool, such as it's more flexible. And then for the typical ones, it's good to have from like that. So I'm using the from underscore to have that. So this one we know, because you don't want to implement from use 16. It would be a weird thing. So here is clear what is from. And then the chainable is a consuming pattern, yeah, that I like to have. And those start with or have append. And the plural of appends take an iterator. And the singular take only one guy. That will be the pattern that I like. And then I implement the froms here, which is other froms here. So that is the things here that I'm trying to teach AI to code that way. And then after the fluid constructors, so I have the method and stuff. And then the builder pattern is to say, hey, don't build a builder pattern for. This is useful for a builder as well, but we don't have to have everything as a builder. For example, an option, you don't need an option builder. It's overkill. Yeah, the option can have this fluid API in place. So that is what I'm saying here in this best practice. Say, hey, when you have a builder, for example, if you have something with an inner or whatever, or like a build that could fail or whatever, then you need to have a builder kind of pattern. And then one of the patterns is, let's make sure to have a builder function, such as, again, the user doesn't have to import this type. It's cool, but it doesn't have to. So that is a little bit, this whole pattern here is encapsulated here. And this repo, again, it's, if you go there, hopefully I have it over there. That is the repo. Yeah, of the thing. So it's a Pack Pro, and then you can find it there, and you can install it with AIP install Pro at Rust 10x. So that is one thing that is pretty good. Now that we have this, what I will do is I will come back here. Oh, yeah. So now if I go back to this guy, press save, now I should see indented. Boom. Okay? Because in Rust, my API can be more granular and stuff. But in a scripting language, I can say, hey, it's scripting. You don't have an option. I might give an option later, but the default could be indented because that is what usually you want. Yeah. So the point is the default of Rust of a compiled language is not necessarily the same default as a scripting. The expectation is not the same. Yeah. In a scripting, the expectation is to be convenient first. In Rust or in a lower language is to be performant first. That is a way to say. So I don't want to indent if the user didn't ask me to indent for the Rust API. However, in scripting, it's like where indent is probably the default here because you want to be able to look at the stuff, perhaps. Yeah. But then you can have an option to have it false. Yeah. Now, the nice things about the way it works is I can go to AIP here and I could have, this is the beautiful thing, we could add that pub. How do we call it in Rust? Not that I need to have indent. And I'm going to have a U16. I don't know why U16. It could be a U8, but whatever. Well, so that is actually, and I don't want that. Actually, I want to have an option of. Okay. Now for JSON and all of that, I like to always use that. And set it with is pretty good. And skip serialization none is great because otherwise you can stuff. The indent. Spaces. Yeah, because right now I don't want to do stuff. So now we have that guy and I can have this. And eventually, honestly, that is something I'm doing. I would like to have, so I have proc macros now. Yeah, that's some of the macro. I have the from Lua, AIP from Lua, which should work. I don't know how well it works. So that's why I'm not doing that. I'm doing manually. But my goal here is that to be able to have over here, to have AIP from Lua. Yeah. And that will go this default because it's silly to code that all the time by hand. Yeah. Now, I like to be able to do it by hand once in a while, but otherwise it's silly. So now I do that, and that get my Lua extension stuff, which is very convenient stuff, and then I get a bool. And by the way, this is, I could do cargo fish like that, but I even decided to do that to be even more dumber. And I'm going to do indent. Okay, and that is not an error. Yeah. And then it's not bool. Ah, interesting. Well, I'm going to be lazy here. 64. Sorry, guys, because I don't have the, the smaller guys. I can do that later. Now, actually, no, I don't have it. Yeah. I think I have it in my value ext for JSON, but not in this implementation. This implementation is what I have there. So that is another pattern I like a lot in Rust, is the Lua APIs is great, but I want to have my own a little bit that is simpler for my context, for my code. So what I do is that is called in Rust extension crate. So what I do is I do a trait Lua extension, and it's mine, it's no pressure. It might be dumb, might be silly, but it's fine. And then I have these kind of things, yeah. And I can define whatever I want. So here I have these two guys. these three guys here, and then I have my string, because string in Lua is a little bit, stuff. But then I want to also get the value and things, stuff. And so that allows me to have a nice way to implement whatever I want. And so, for example, in this case, I implemented it on value, which is the Lua, mLua value business. It's a little bit like CRD. And inside a value, in Lua, an object or a list is called a table. Yeah, so it's one of the variants of the value. So I implemented the same guy in table. So like this, it's super simple to do whatever I want. Yeah. And I have a crate that I've created. I need to stop opening tabs here, but which is called value ext. And because the JSON, I was using that a lot, that is for JSON. Yeah, set a JSON. And again, it's not to replace the standard APIs, but sometimes it's nice. It allows us to not have so much code to do simple common stuff. Yeah, so that is the stuff. And I prefix with X. Usually X is for me. In this case, I put it in this method to make sure that, hey, this is not standard. JSON stuff is not even intended to be standard. It's just like an extension. Yeah. So that is a pattern that I like a lot. And in my crate, I do that a lot. So that kind of simplifies a lot of the code here. So rather to have a long code, readability is much better. And for AI, it's great. Now AI has to learn about it. And so this is where I have this stuff for AI where I put things, best practices over there. I have my spec over there, my Lua extension. So AI can pick this up to kind of follow this pattern. Yeah, so that is the way I do it. And by the way, here, the way I code a lot here is I code a lot by hand in a way. But the way that I like to see things is this way. Yes, production coding with AI for me is 10%, which is a steering wheel where you put stuff in track. You want 80% to be generated by AI. This stuff has gone, yes, and it's not a Fable or whatever Mythos kind of discussion. Yeah, even I'm using DeepSeek V4 Pro. That's it. And I actually updated my Mac a while back before the price hike. Lucky. I'm using quite a bit of the commands, DeepSeek because it's free, and even OMLX in local to do some local coding sometime. Yes, but because I do quite a bit of concurrency, it's nice to have the thing out. But my point is, we need to generate 80% by AI. Like what we did today, it's silly to generate too much. And the more you teach AI to code your way, the more it compounds. Yeah, so it's compounding development in a way. So we want that. And then what I call is this 10% here is drift control. When the AI kind of goes somewhere, we want to put it back on the track. Yeah? So that is my way of looking at the stuff. I really don't envy people that don't know how to code and prompt everything. This is why right now there's some YouTubers that are very mad at GPT 5.6 or Fable or everything. Beyond the societal kind of things, they are stuck now because they were expecting to have these things to be able to do everything because they don't know how to code. Yeah? For us, it's fine. We can steer the things and use big model to do big apps. Yeah, GMF4, I tried GMF4. I use GMF4 and I think it's great for coding. I need to try a little bit more. I have it locally. I'm a big fan of OMLX, you know, so I have that guy. And now it works with AIPack as well. So I have this guy here I haven't been using lately. I restarted it, but I connect to that guy once in a while. And it's good. The problem is concurrency sometimes, you know, speed is slow. But my goal eventually with zcoder and stuff is to have AI working during the night. I need to be able to give good work to AI to do the work. So that's why I'm not rushing it. But my point is, if you want to have AI running the night, you want to have a local LLM. Yeah, because otherwise you don't want to wake up the morning with a $2,000 bill or whatever. Now with DeepSeek, you cannot go to $10,000 bill, but you can get pretty high for 12 hours or 8 hours or whatever. So now this is pretty cool because it does the indent, and then we added the indent business. So the cool thing is that just by doing that, if I go back to my HTML guy, and I'm going to do indent, and I'm going to say 12, just to go crazy, I'm going to press stuff, and I'm going to see the terminal. Sorry, guys. And that is epic fail. Oh, why is it epic fail? Okay. Okay, that didn't work. That's fine enough. So we go back to our stuff. Oh, that's weird. Oh, overlay is hiding the code. Sorry, guys. That's weird. So I went to this guy and I say indent that, which should have been, oh, no, I'm sorry. I've been blabbing around. No? That should have been working, no? So this is, I'm going to do, so I have a debug print like this. That is, so I like that because this way, when I do this, guys, I search for dash those guys and I can delete it. So every time I do a debug print and stuff, and debug print, by the way, is the best thing you can have with AI now. So people that does breakpoint in AI now, I don't know how that would work. So I have this guy. So now, okay, good. So somehow it is not taking AI code here. That is weird. C04 HTML. Okay. So now that's 12. We do the 12 here, sorry. And then, oh yeah, I think my bad. Oh, this is epic fail. And then I'm going to do something like let indent, and we're going to do params. Indent, yeah. And we're going to do a unwrap or 2. That sounds to be good. And then we're going to do that. That's fair enough. I64, why it didn't... Oh, okay. That's fine. Okay, so that is not really good, but we're going to do that for now. So it will wrap around, you know. But that's fine. The guy anyway, it's crazy, Okay, up. Come on. Okay, good. So now we have it. Okay, so that is pretty cool. So we actually, I didn't even plan to add this, but we add that. And now here's the cool things of the business is that I'm going to go back to this one. I'm going to remove that. And now if we go to that, and we're going to do here's a beautiful thing at that. And again here, so for the one here that are the jumping, it's always hard and stuff. But what we're doing here, sorry. what we're doing is we're doing AIProg is a Rust crate with Lua that allows us to tell the AI, here's all the function you have, and with this instruction and context, create me a program that I can run in my sandbox, in my binary, whatever. And I want, there will be a default of APIs. So I have about 150 APIs that I want to migrate to AIProg from AIPack. But also you could add your own. We could add our own. Yeah, for zcoder and stuff, I want the thing to be able to add my own zc.workbench or .workspace or whatever. Yeah. So this way, the AI, rather to have a function calling ping pong, is more tennis, where you have less back and forth, and every back and forth has more velocity, more momentum, probably. Yeah. So that is the goal here. And then after you run your stacks, so that's the goal. So for that, what we do is that we have implemented the html.slim API that now we can use like that. So we do the new scripting engine, and then we do that, and that works beautifully. And so we're going to leave it at 12 over there. And now what we want is to say, hey, is that created the doc? So we have the example of the doc. This is why I have this. So I use the example a lot when I code Rust libraries. I use the example not only to show how the things is working to others, but also to show it to myself, to mature the ergonomics of the APIs and to say, is it the way I want it to work? You know, and that really allows me to do this thing. So for example, if we go to custom, that is a way that in custom, you know, I can build my own API. And then it's like, oh, okay, so right now, it's like, can I remove that for the user? That would be nice. And then that is how I do my own custom handler. And then if I go down, now I can call that from Lua. And I've written the function, the Rust function just above. And the way I've done it is to say, hey, I want to have a registry from the AIP modules. So that is the whole thing, which that should be what AIP registry, a script engine new should call this one. And then once I have that, then it goes and I register another guy, register sync, and I give the key, I give the function, and then boom, everything is there. And create a doc out of it. So here I have this code here where I can see the doc is generated the way I want it. Now, if we go back to doc here, the cool thing is, I'm going to go back there, and the way it works is cargo watch E, C03, 03, and I'm going to say doc. That will create the documentation, and that will create that file. Usually I don't create files in this example, but in this case it's good. And then if I go and search for Slim, okay, that is as good as it can get. Yeah. So param HTML stuff to do the Slim, and then this one I need to clean it up here. That, for example, I don't like it. It's nice because it's consistent, but I think I could do like that. Yeah. So that is one thing I need to my doc generate, because this way I can do like that. And then the error, I might keep it there. The problem is everybody has that, so it's stuff. So you want to have clarity for the AI, but you want to reduce as well. So there's a whole thing. And all of this doc is generated in that function here, generate doc, that use schema rs. And what I've done is I created a little schema ref implementation that wrap schema and then provide like with reference. So usually I don't use that much reference. You know, I'm trying to stay away because it gets complicated. But then in this case, I don't want to own schema. I don't want to duplicate schema and everything. You know, it wouldn't make sense. And so it's just a view on the schema object of schema rs. And that allows me to extract the description, the type, the properties, and then for each properties to be able to have everything I want. So that is what I created here in the schema ref. And so in the doc now, if I go to engine doc, then it's much simpler because I can say, hey, you get the schema, that is from schema rs, and then I get my schema ref from that guy, and then I can ask whatever I want. Okay? So that is the way it works, and it works pretty nicely. And so this is, if the things that I need to change how I render doc is that way. So now the cool thing is we have this html.slim, which is great. And so I will go back. So I will do a search for that guy to see if there's anybody that have this. Nobody, so that's good. Because that's my debug print, and I like my debug print more than ever, because with AI, I really do like it. That this one doesn't matter because it's going to get generated. And then I'm going to go back this one. I can stop that. Go back to that guy. I'm going to zoom back. I'm going to keep the AI here. I'm going to zoom on this guy, and I'm going to amend, because that is what we added. Okay? We added this guy. We added this guy. So now what I can do, I can go back to my patterns over there, and I still have my HTML.slim, which is fine. Oops, I need to do, I have a git AA, which is append amend, because there were files that were not added. Now what I can do is I can add HTML to MD. So I'm going to keep the same workbench. So again, the workbench is there. So it's my way with AIPack and Procoder to code with AI. I'm using DeepSeek Pro here, which is 0.80 cents a million token. Good luck, Google, Anthropic, and OpenAI to beat that. And so I'm going to use the same workbench. HTML.slim is good. One thing I like to do sometimes is I like to do like this. And I have git AC, which is append commit, and I'm going to do HTML.slim. And that is my dot. What do you do? Okay, good. Oh no, okay. Git AC HTML.slim. Okay. And that is my dot workbench. Okay. So that is my dot workbench stuff, and it has its own git ignore. And that is just a convenient way. I don't really care that much about this commit because I don't push it, but it's just a convenient way to have git and Z colors highlighting when it changes and all of that. So that's just a way. So I'm going to use the same HTML.slim workbench. So that is a way. I could create a new one, which will be the HTML to MD. But right now, using that one is fine because it will see, I know you won't even see anything. It didn't even capture anything. So sometimes I say capture ask and summary of work. But now we're going to say, hey, following now in the implement the HTML to MD. And we're going to keep the same signature over there. And that is good. Make sure to follow the same patterns. And then in chat.md, this is what I like to do. Yeah, capture ask and give summary of work. And sometime when I'm talking to AI and I don't want the AI to create work and just to work on my workbench, just I say something like this. I say, do not update code files, update chat.md. Okay. And then here I say, give your answer. And here I will ask any question I want. Yeah? So that is what I do. So right now I am in a work mode, so I don't do that. And then I say, hey, implement the HTML to MD and stuff. That's good. And I could even do so, and also add something in the C03. Well, we'll have fun with that. Okay. That's it. So I'm going to press Command R. So I have Command R, which is wired into GC task, which look for the tmux that is open inside the same workspace projects, and then send the R command. So it's a little bit ninja stuff, but basically now, thanks to Hammer Spoon and everything, I have basically external terminal integrated to Z. And then I have a whole project update open like that, because they change the way they open projects now, recent project, and it doesn't work out at all. It creates many windows everywhere. So it's getting confusing. So I'm keeping Z for an editor kind of things, and then I'm adding stuff to make it work as I want around it, because yeah, it's getting tricky with Z. But Z is great. I'm a big fan of Z. It's just that they are spending a lot of time on AI stuff. So that will go, and again, you can see that it did a code map of these guys. And if I look at the files, this is because we changed these files. So a code map is basically to say, hey, what is a summary of this file? When to use this file? What is the public types is export? What is the public functions? And then auto context is say, hey, here's all the files that I have. Tell me the files that I need to answer this, to do this work. So now I go from basically 600 kilobytes to about 20 kilobytes. Okay? So that is how the thing kind of gets reduced. Okay? And then it tell you which file is giving for what. And then this is kind of implemented. And then you can see that he updated the chat. That's good. So I like that. It didn't really capture very well what I was asking somehow. But in the ad is clear. And then I can see the code here. And it's cool. Started the region, code like me. So that AI, once you have the good pattern, it kind of follow pretty nicely. That's good. The output here, I need to rework on it. I'm not happy. This is something I need to work on the documentation. AIProg is not bad. I use AIProg to get issues and give AI to read. Yeah. This is awesome. Let me make that bigger. This DVP here, it's awesome. This is good. And for me, the println, when I do the cargo test and everything, I do cargo text, no capture. So then the AI sees the print. But yes, having the ePrint is good, because then you can do a search on ePrint and delete them. So that's perfect. And then there's tracing as well, which is another stuff. So anyway, so that is pretty good. It complained here. That's fair. And I think it didn't follow everything. So I have the same thing here, two options. I think the spec that I have was the old one. So we got confused here, no problem. I do the none. So that's the same pattern that I had before. That is going to be an error here. Now I want the error to do a map error. And to string. We're going to do like that for now. It's ugly, but it's good enough. And then that's it. You know what? That might work well. We need to make sure that he added it on top. That's great. And now, if I go back to my C04 business, we are going to look at that. We're going to do that. Slim. So now we're in Lua. So we are implementing the thing in Rust. The function handlers, we are registering it into our Lua script engine. And now we're giving the thing in Lua. Why not Python or JavaScript? Because now I have everything embedded into my Rust runtime. If you try to embed Python or JavaScript in Rust, it's possible, but you're like for a whole different level of things. Lua is 400 kilobytes embedded scripting engine. Can't beat that. And with the mlua crate, which is an amazing crate that brings Lua into the Rust, here a little bit like Rustculite. I mean, like Rustculite. you have a scripting engine for nothing. So the goal here is to be able to create a lot of function here that we can expose into a Lua and a scheme to do that and to be self-documented. So that is the goal. So now that we have this, we're going to do the local and we're going to do the markdown, MD. And we're going to do that. And we're going to do the to MD. There's something I don't like about Slim and to MD is the asymmetry of the two. Here we have two. Here we don't have two. But MD is not really a verb. Slim, yeah. So anyway, I don't want to go too deep. I'm going to remove that. That doesn't make sense in this case. And then I do that. And then I'm going to remove. I'm going to return slimmed. And that. And then MD. And that is the thing, see, with AIProg now, if you say, hey, here's 5 URLs, give me the markdown and the slim version, for example, of this 5 URL, yeah? And you send that to AI. Well, AI doesn't have to do ping pong every time with tools, get the content, call slim now with this content and stuff. You can just change the call like that and then just give us stuff. And so complexity collapse. And so when you manage, everything is order of magnitude. So if you manage to reduce complexity by order of magnitude, then you always win. Yeah, everybody that say waste doesn't matter, it's just a question of time before they either pass away and then the other guys say, well, waste matters, or they even change their mind without saying that they are changing their mind. So return slim and MD. And that means that now that is not going to be a string. So it's going to be confusing, but that's fine. I mean, it's not going to be that. So we're going to have the slim. Hey. Hi, bluebird. That's good. I have a blueprint.step. So I have a slim, and I'm going to have a get, and I have the X business here. Get string. That I like my stuff. And by the way, here, I don't know if X void and Savior, you are still here, but if you are still here, I added these guys. Now, F60, the list of things. So you can ask a list of string, if it's an array, obviously. Get, so that is my CRD value-ext, which is an extension crate on top of CRD values. So like this, I don't have to have all these crazy calls, and I do str. And then here I give the name of the pointer. So in this case, it's going to be slim. And then it's, if you go to this guy, oh yeah, this one is just str. But otherwise, I have into EMPL into sometimes. I like that. But in this case, that works well. And then, okay, or I think, this one return an error. So I can actually do like this. Yeah. And then let slim. And I might change my internal one here to return errors, because errors, you have more information. You say, hey, property is not there, all these kind of things. So might be good. And then you can do a .ok to have the OK. So that's why I did that in the value.ext. Because when I do an extension for myself, it doesn't have to be that clean. It just has to be. But my Lua extension, I'm going to expose it to the outside world. And I might move that to value.ext, perhaps. I don't know yet. Yeah. But that might be a possibility here. Because value.ext, the name is generic because of that. And in this case, you will have a feature that say Lua. And then when you have Lua, you bring the stuff on. So anyway, slim, and then we have that guy, and then we have MD, and then we have that guy. And we are fine here to do the question mark because we have the box din over there, which is a pattern I love. And then I say, I like to be like this, and I'm going to say slimmed. That. And then I'm going to do that guy, which is MD. That compiles. And now I'm going to go back to that guy. And I'm going to cargo watch exec C03, C04, HTML. Oh, that's epic fail. This is MD. Why is it MD? Okay, fair enough. Oh. I know it's super annoying when you see my spelling mistakes on my stuff and it doesn't work and you have to wait until. This is very frustrating. I'm sorry about that. Nothing I can do. That's it. So I'm going to put some stuff there to be a little bit nicer on the eye. And then that's it. That is pretty cool. This is a good question. Savior, anyway, Savior and Xvoy, you're always on top. Yeah, this is a good question. Does 2MD need to slim down content? 2MD today, it does not. Yeah, so in our case here, it doesn't matter. Yeah, because I take the whole content. And the 2MD, I don't know if I go to, let me go to my htmlr, which is this crate. And if you have the 2MD over there, oh, sorry, this is a doc. We could look at the doc, but we can look at the implementation. So I have the 2MD here. So that's the pattern here that I like to clean stuff. 2MD implementation. So sometimes I like the underscore implementation now because Clippy doesn't like when you have 2MD, which makes sense. So I split it like that, and I like this pattern now. Sometimes I have pattern that tries them, and then if it doesn't stick, I move on, and if it stick, I stick. There's no emotion. You see, I don't slim it. Yeah. Now you can pass a slim version, might be a little bit faster, but I don't slim it. So right now, in this one, it's, I have my own 2MD options, but then I create a HTMD option. Yeah, so the way that I'm using is, I'm using HTMD, and it's a crate. I didn't do that guy, but it's a pretty cool one. I like it. And it's this one, HTMD. Yeah, it's a pretty big one. And that's success over there. And that is pretty cool. It's a nice one. So it changes stuff. It's a good one. So anyway, so that is what I'm using now. And now the cool thing is all of that cascade back up into the stuff. So I could have used directly HTMD inside things, but since I have my HTML helper, my HTMLr, I put it there, such as I can normalize and have my options. It's just like a convenience. I'm not even pushing HTMLr to anybody here. But that is getting very cool now. So will be smart enough to slim first. Yeah, well, so the 2MD is not, when I do 2MD, is not, it's not an AI stuff, yeah? So I can take the HTML string, I could take slim, it will be the same thing. So like today, if I do slim like that, and I do that, it will be, let me save. It's going to give the same guy, yeah? Because in my slim, I make sure that I don't remove content, yeah? So sometimes when you have a whole tree down and there's no content, I remove the whole tree, but if there's content, I don't. Yeah, so I'm trying to do stuff like that in the slim things. Now, the cool things about the APIs that I have in the HTMLr is that I allow you to give directly a type, which is HTMD options. So that is what the impl into does. Yeah. So that is pretty nice. So if I go there, here I pass none, yeah. But the none of my 2MD, in my 2MD, I have some default that I'm using. So the none will go with the default that I think, should be default. But obviously that is subjective. But you can pass your own HTMD options, and that will take over. So like this, you have full control here. But the beautiful things about this whole AIProg, the way I'm building it, is that, again, it allows us to implement everything in Rust and then to expose it in Lua, such as then when we talk to AI, we say, hey, here's a doc, here's a question, write me a program that I can execute, that I can fully control. It's in my sandbox. Yeah. So one thing in zcoder, for example, and something that I have in AIPack already for my procoder is I don't allow the AI to write anywhere. I mean, it can write in the workspace, it can write in the .AIPack base, some places, but that's it. Okay? And so that would be the same thing here, yeah, because the file write and even the file read, we can build it in a way that to say, hey, you cannot go crazy. Yeah. And then the tool that is using it in zcoder, which will be my coding harness here. So today I'm using procoder from AIPack to use zcoder. And inside zcoder, I have this AIProg. That is the thing I'm building right now. So now the cool thing again about this is if I go back to that and I go my C3 doc, then boom, I have my new doc, which is this, which will have the Slim and the 2MD. That's it. And so right now, for example, let's say we do like this, and to Markdown. And the way it works is AIPPAM. Okay, so that is the AI, because in my way here is tricky because I'm using the params to be the description of my function. That's the way I've done it today, because otherwise in my handlers, this is my handlers that I'm implementing, I will need to have something like this, yeah, which I might add later, yeah, IP handler, something, yeah. And then I could add comments, and then this guy will take this comment. I might do this at some point. This is why this subcrate is called AIProg macros and not AIProg derived, because I might have this attribute function, prog macros. But right now, what I'm doing is I'm taking this guy. So what I don't want is I want this. So that's weird. Oh, AP, yeah, to AP. And that is render HTML to Markdown file. And again, Savior and export, I'm going to, I'm not super happy yet with the doc, yeah. So right now, for example, the thing I don't understand is why that should appear here. So there's why this one shows and not the other guy? Oh, okay. No? Oh, okay. I think I know why. Okay, good. No, okay. I'm trying to find out if, okay, good. So this is stuff. So in fact, I need to go back here because again, everything is at compile time, yes? So right now, if I go to my AIP stuff, I say, that is where I describe the function. So when the AI is writing it, it's getting confused here. It thinks it's a description of that, which I don't need it. The one that is a params is a description of the function. Now, I don't like that because sometimes I might have the same params that is used into multiple functions. I think I have that at some point. So then that wouldn't work, yeah? So that's why I need to kind of change it. Yeah, do you work on Rust on daily basis or not? Yes, I only work Rust. Everything I do from anything, it's a Rust. It's a little bit of hammer spoon for my windowing business, but of Lua, but it's all my stuff is always Rust. Yeah. From server to my personal productivity to all my tools, even the one for DaVinci Resolve where I slice videos, I code faster in Rust than in other language. And I do think, ironically, that with AI, Rust is one of the best language because you can use small model to build big apps with Rust because the compiler is doing a lot of the job that the AI will need to do otherwise. So, for example, for memory safety, to make sure that you can share your object across stuff, well, the AI doesn't have to think about it because the compiler will complain about it. And then the AI will just like look at the compiler and then keep fixing it. And that is very good at that. And so that's why I think, ironically, I think Rust is the best language for AI coding. Now, for me, again, is I like to code this stuff, which is I have this way of coding where I use AI to code 80% of the stuff, and that everything I do is to make sure that AI can code 80% to compound my expertise. But then I always want to code the 10%, which is my steering wheel, to put things in the track. And then I always have an extra 10% as a drift control when AI goes there. Yeah. So the problem is, you need to find a job with Rust, and it's a little bit the same thing. So now this stuff, and I'm going to change it here, and xvoid and savior here. The thing I'm realizing here is, in fact, is because I already did that. This is a little hack of piggybacking on this guy for the function definition is a little bit because if I want to use the same things, same params for different functions, then I'm stuck. Yeah, because this would be a function that render HTML into Markdown. Yeah, I will do that. Now I press save here. I go back to my doc, to my C3 doc to trigger the rebuild. I go back here, and now I see that function that renders HTML. So that's good. But in fact, what I want to do, and we're not going to do it today, but what I would like to do is, right now I'm using schema rs. Yeah? So the magic here, why that become available in my render doc, which I do here, is because I have schema rs, which is godsend, it's doing all the stuff. Schema rs is the king of the hill. This model is not that good. I mean, it's great for now, but again, I can use the same parameters. It's what I do when I do a file read, actually. If you do AIP file read, for example, no, file read handler, okay? It's using the file read stuff, but, file list, okay? This is a good example. It's going to do the file list AIP params here. Okay? And the file list AIP param, you say, hey, you have the globs, you have the base D, absolute, and with meta or whatever. This one is going to go away. It's always going to be with meta. But the problem is that my file list and read, which is you list and you read, yeah, has the same params because I don't need another param. I don't want to have another param. So now the description here, if I put one, which one do I put? Doesn't work. Yeah. So that's why what I need, I wanted to avoid that, but now I don't have, is I'm going to have an AIP handler. Okay. And then I just put a AIP handler, and the goal, I will keep the same schema array stuff here, which is beautiful, I think. And I will do, I think that will be, I will do something like that. And that, hopefully, this guy will be able to take that and put it somewhere. So I need to do quite a bit of refactoring here to do that. I'm going to do it with AI, obviously. But that is a goal. And that is one thing that AI wouldn't really think about. You know, like for it, it's like it's a yes man. Yeah? AI is a yes man. So you don't do design with yes people. So that is the thing I want to do. And now I'm going to chat with AI to say, hey, here's what I want to do. How will I do it? And then it would give me a stuff, and that I will do that with the chat. And so that will be the goal. So I'm going to remove that. That is not there. And this guy here, I will add it to my AIProg macros. Okay? So this is what the beautiful thing with Rust is. You have your macros. That is a good pattern here. You have your name of the crate, that macros. Get deployed. You know, when you install it, everything gets installed. I like to have all my derive below, like that. And then my libs, I have all my derive over there. And so what probably I will do a code region here, derives. And so by Rust scheme, those has to be at the root of the lib. Yeah. So I export all these guys in and they are the derive. I don't need to be too specific here. But then the thing I like to do is in my lib, let me see here, I export them like this. I have a prog derive. So like this, I don't have to have AIProg. I do derive, and then I have these guys over there. So now everything's good. And then the other one will be probably a pub mod macros. And I will have pub use AIP macro. And I will have, this one will be a AIP handler. Yeah, something like that. So that is what I will do. So that is a clean kind of separation. The fact that everything is flattened then is no big deal. And then stuff. Now this Mac, yeah, I think it has to be like that. Yeah, so that would be. Yeah, coming from DVP, yeah, I agree. Yeah, coming from JavaScript first, it's hard, and even from Java, yeah, it's hard to wrap your head around Rust. But for me, the thing with Rust, I mean, here's the thing, and I've done a lot of code in Node.js, TypeScript, and everything, yeah, and in Java before that. With Rust, like 2 years ago and stuff, every time I do code Rust, if I come back 6 months later in the code base, I'm up to speed in 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I know where things are. Even with TypeScript and stuff, and I'm a little bit OCD in the way I write the stuff, it's not the same thing. Yes, when you want to change something in a Node.js, you always sweat a little bit. Yeah, even in Java, it's like you get all this stuff. But in Rust, something is in the language, in the construct, in the constraints, that once you get it, the cost of going back to a code base and get how it works is much faster. Yeah. That is true for 90%. The only caveat in Rust is sometime to wrap your head around is macros. Yeah. So the macro business, sometimes it's a little bit on it could be hard to read, to parse. Now with AI is beautiful because declarative macros and stuff, it knows very well. So when you know what you want to do, AI can generate it, and you kind of silo them, and then you make sure that things make sense, and you can parse it after. It's beautiful to create macros. So that's why I think that AI is the biggest value for Rust production coding, because it forces the developer to understand what they are doing. Because if you don't, at some point, it's going to, be too much. So anyway, so now I'm pretty happy with all of that. We did the HTML. We did the 2MD. We did the stuff. We did everything we wanted. I might ask to create a little test with AI. I might do that now, actually. Well, I still have a little bit of time. So let's do that. So first usually I do this, I do a queue, git log. So I have this, and here I'm going to do a search. I will do a ePrint search, so I do my little guy. Even in ePrint, I think I will do that. And then I do a git log, and I'm going to do git AC plus. That's my notation. I'm not, plus when I add something, and dot when it's minor, dash when it's fixed. But it's just my thing. HTML dot to MD. Okay. There's still a lot of work to do here. A lot of things that I want to clean in the way. So I need to do this handler business. Actually, you know what? I can show you guys how I will design. We might not implement it. I have like 15 minutes or something like that. But I might show how I will implement these things here. So starting to work very well. Yeah. So we have our HTML, our handlers that we are coding in our AIPs, guys. So this is what we've done today. We've done the AIP to MD handlers, and then we have our AIP.slim, AIP.html.slim handler, and that allows us to do these kind of things in Lua, which will be great because then we can have AI doing this program and stuff. Beautiful. Now, the way that it works is very powerful. I'm using schema.rs, which is a godsend. I mean, this crate is amazing. And that allows me to create this documentation on the fly. Once I have a script engine, I can create the documentation that I will send to AI. And that is this guy. Yeah. So now I create this markdown, which is very optimized. I'm using TypeScript as a way to document Lua. Looks weird, but TypeScript is a very good language to document, very concise language to document scripting language. And because he has the option here like this and stuff, and obviously AI understands it back of his hands, so it's perfect. So as long as the doc will have probably a kind of a preface over there that's like, hey, here's a doc that of APIs you have available. We're using TypeScript to define the types, but everything is Lua, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So now that we have these kind of things, it allows us to do many things. The trick is today I have a little hack, which is the description of the function when there is one. I mean, there's a lot of that don't. Yeah, I mean, you see here, that is a bug. It's actually the description of the parameters of this function, which is kind of work, but it's kind of hacky, and it's kind of doesn't work as well because sometime if I go to my code over there, I have my file reads. So if I do why did it become like this? Oh, I know. Okay. Okay. Little bit weird way. What does it do? Okay. Trying to understand the folding business. Oh my God, but it has folding region. X void, you like solve my whole problem. Why they didn't do that by default? That's weird. That is awesome. Okay. So there's something. Okay, big thanks, X void, if you are still here. I mean, like you you like say my life here. It's not life, but close. So what I want now is, you see, for the file read, so this is xvoid here to have the folding stuff. Xvoid, show it to me, is a Z. You go to your Z guy and you do that magic line. That is a magic line. And then once you do that, I'm going to put it in the chat here. Once you do that, then Z is fixed somehow. I don't know why anyway, it is what it is. So now the problem here is my file list. When I list stuff, I have a whole set of functions, which is the list, the first, and stuff that are reusing my AIP list. Yeah, so if I have my AIP file list, so that is that params. Yeah, I could say, hey, this is a file list, but if I look at this param, is used. Okay, is used in file list read, and in file list is used here, here, and in first. Yeah, so because it's filters. Yeah, so now I cannot use AIP stuff params like I'm doing today, because I cannot describe the function here. Because if I describe the function, it doesn't match, because I don't have a one-to-one mapping, and I don't really want to have a one-to-one mapping. So what I need is, when I have the AIP file list guy, what I want is to have the comment here will list the APIs, the files for the given file globs. Okay, and this one, it will list and read the file for the given file globs. So two different guys. Now, the thing is, I want to do the same thing that schema RS is doing, the magic that schema RS is doing, that I'm still using and I'm still going to use. You know, schema RS allow me to have these documents over there for each params when I generate the document. Okay? So that is awesome. And so the way it takes the // put it as a description, and then me in my doc engine doc, I take the I take the description, split by line, and I do this rendering, this nice rendering, TypeScript for Lua and stuff. So that is awesome. So now what I want is to say, hey, I want to have, I want to have something where I can add something like that, where I can do AIP handler. Okay, those are called handlers and stuff. So I want to have that guy, which will come from my macro crate over there. And I want this guy to just be able to capture that description, okay, in a static way. And then when I register that, I want to be able to extract that description. I want to have that something being able to have the description. Okay, so I'm going to use AI. Okay, just one sec. Okay, just use AI, and I'm not going to do everything today, but I'm just going to show how I will do it. Okay. And I'm going to probably do it offline, or perhaps this afternoon doing another live. So I go back here. And so there's this whole thing I want to do, but it's quite involved. Yeah, I have to create a macro and stuff. I mean, that could be a half a day kind of work. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to remove that. I'm going to go back to my coder prompt. So that's with my AIPack stuff. If you use Cloud Code or stuff, perhaps they do the same thing, but that is a control first way. And so again, if you go to AIPack.ai, you install the AIPack, and then you have a pack, which is ProCoder. So this is what I'm redoing in zcoder. Yeah, so zcoder will be a new kind of parallel first. You can subscribe to the Substack. I'm going to start blogging soon about it, but it's not live yet. Yeah, the getting started is misleading. There's nothing. I mean, it's just a placeholder code right now. But there's a really, really early basic. And we're doing AIProg, which is going to be the key of zcoder, the way to talk to AI. And so now what I will do is I will go back here and I will start. So I'm going to do this, git log. I'm going to make sure that I don't have, I want to see what changed here. Yeah, that's fine. So I'm going to do git log, git amend. That's fine. And then I'm going to create a new workbench. So my workbench is a way for me to silo my work. Okay, so this one I can actually delete it. I don't really care anymore. I'm going to do this terminal, git AC app and commit clean. So like this, when I have, here I'm using a tool which is called fork. I have all my clean here. So like this, I can see, if I wanted to see what I deleted, I just go to clean. And I don't want to get much smarter than that, because my workbench is just, my own bookkeeping. I don't care. So now that I have this, I go back here and I'm going to say macro handler. Okay. And then I will say something like that. I say, do not write. And I will turn the loop off. Do not write any code. Update chat.md. Okay. And then at the end, I will say in chat.md, capture ask and give your answer. Answer. And I will say, now, what I want to do is create a function attribute macro that will capture the comments of the function annotated. Little like schema, and he knows schema RS. For example, and then, yeah, me too. I will try it. I'm going to try to. I have all these things, but I want to keep the control of ProCoder. There's a lot of it is going to be, but it's going to be cool. If I can make it, it's going to be cool. But it's still in the conceptual phase right now. Example. So this way, when we register a function handler in the AIP registry, can extract this description rather than taking it from the params. So here's the trick. So I'm going to say, does it make sense? And it is weird what I'm saying here, but I like it because I give the authorization to the AI to say, no, you are crazy. Otherwise, it's always going to be a yes man again. Then I say, can you show the code design to do this? And I will say, sure. I don't know why I say, and ask any question, if any. Okay, whatever. And then I do this. So that is a way that I work now. So you see that in my workbench, I don't have this file yet. But when I'm going to run it in my ProCoder, it's going to create it. So I go here, click R, and you see that it created this file over there, this folder. Then within this folder, I have data here. I can drag and drop data files, and it would pick it up if it makes sense. I have plan, which is a blank plan a blank plan and start a dev chat. Okay, and now it's going to answer in this way. So that is what is running. I need to check if. So that I see. And so in a way, AIPack here, Procoder, it's like you have this kind of dashboard and you see it running. Yeah, I'm using DeepSeek V4 Pro Max, and you can put the reasoning model level you want here. Okay, so we're going to do that. Give me 1 sec here. I'm back in 1 second. Cool, we have 30 minutes, so that's good. And so that is going to work. If you have any question here, feel free to ask anything. So that is this way in my chat, I will have a brainstorming and I will continue to brainstorm until I get what I want. And then I will say, hey, write the plan and do it. And then I will take a break and I come back 15, 20 minutes later and it might be done. So that is a way. So if I go back there, this one is stuff. So you get the auto context here. And the auto context, what did it take? It take all of that. It take quite a bit of files, which is good. It take this guy, take that. And the auto context here, I'm using DeepSeek Flash, V4 Flash. And by the way, for the price here, oh, look at this. By the way, just to show you here, I wanted to show you that for the price business. So I have all this, too many tabs here. But if I do to AIPack, I go to the pricing chart here. That is a public pricing model business. So that is OpenAI and stuff. And when you go to deepseek.com, look at that. That is DeepSeek V4. And then you have all these guys. So when you work with these two guys, I mean, it's heaven. And even if you compare DeepSeek to the AI, the other guys are at $4, which is good. It's great. But this is the same quality from what I've noticed. And they just slice the price by 4. So it's a big deal, at least for me. So this is why I only use DeepSeek. I mean, I mostly use, sometimes I use Opus, like probably like 5 runs a week max. And sometimes it's not even needed. Okay, so now user ask. So I asked to capture the ask, and this is very important, such as my prompt is not needed anymore, and everything is inside the chat. So I want that. So then it captured very well what I was asking. Yes, absolutely. So that's good. I mean, often it's the guy is nice, yeah, but it follows the manual. I'm responding, extracting the doc attributes and the stuff, you know. Yeah. Okay, high-level design. There's 2 main approaches. Okay, approach 1, lightweight, generate const ID, AIP handler, proc macro attribute, expand the annotated function into the original function, plus a static string, holding the cleanup. Well, I don't know if I need cleanup comment. Doc comment. The registry then accept description, the new method. That's pretty cool. We'll expand that, so it will do that. Okay. And so this is why I like a lot to work with files, because rather to be with, I'm looking at the delay here, it's crazy. Rather to be, the delay is distracting me. Rather to be, so So this is why I always use AI. It's so nice to be able to chat, and I use files because now I am in my files and I can read through that, and I see nice code and stuff. So I like a lot this approach. So example here, file list stuff will expand to AIP file handler context. I don't understand. Oh yeah, okay, cool. Oh, that makes sense. Okay. So that will be what our guy will do. Yeah, he will do a const like that. Add a new method or change register thing. So that is the thing I don't like. With a const. I don't like it. I don't want that. I don't like that. Yeah. Yeah, I like that a lot. I don't know, did I have an AIP handler? Yeah, okay, that's fine. Trade ID. The macro will write a function here. The handler. So I like this option a little bit more. Okay. I'm trying to. So I like this option a little bit more. Because I don't want us. Here it's asking us to remember, I mean, that's just silly. Yeah. New trait sketch. This is better. Become generic over edge handler. So I do that. Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah, so now we pass this guy as a type. Yeah, and that will become the type in a way. Yeah, so that becomes a type. I don't know why. Yeah, that's fine. And then we pass it as a type that implement this, and then it goes as stuff. Pro fully symmetric from breaking changes. We don't really care. The original function name become a struct. So it can no longer be called as a plain function elsewhere. That's okay. So there's another way. Yeah, no. I think it might be right. So I'm going to, so here's the thing I'm going to do, and I have like 30 minutes more. So we're going to do something interesting. So the plan is empty, yeah, because I didn't ask it to plan, but he asked this. And that's DeepSeek V4 Pro, okay? So I'm going to close that guy. I'm going to pin that guy. And what I'm saying is to say, hey, is there a better option than that? Perhaps. So what about, we're going to use Opus, okay? Or we can use GPT-5.5 or Opus, whatever. And let's say we're going to still say that and say, read the chat. Read the chat.md and tell me if there is another options. to do the intent. Okay, the intent is a goal. And so what I want here is to keep track of, this one here now it's green, meaning it's new files. So I'm going to want to go to my workbench, Z, and get a C, so it's append commit, and I'm going to append macro handler. And again, those are just checkpoints. I don't really care about the commit, it's just to make sure that I can see when the AI writes. And I'm going to run it now, do another run. So now what it's going to do here is that this guy, I mean, it's not there yet, but this guy is going to become Opus. The auto context is still DeepSeek before Flash, I didn't change that. So it's going to hopefully get about the same files as these guys. And then Opus will kind of review the stuff. That is a way for me, in this case, to say, hey, there's these two options, and I like these two options. Yeah? The first one, I mean, I don't like this one, but it's okay. And this one just basically capture that comment and put it as a constant. The other one, this guy, it implements, it putting, so that is this guy. The approach B, it had this trait, AIP handler, and then it takes that guy, and then it creates this AIP handler business. And then I change APIs like that. So now I don't pass it as a handler because it's just a function. I pass it as a type. And that is where I get the stuff. So that might be good. Yeah. And I might have my static handlers because my goal later it will be to have dynamic handlers. So that is one thing I might do. Okay. Opus came back. So you can see that Opus is faster. This one is 2 minutes, but it has to think about it, I guess. This was 1 minute, but this one is 20x the price. Yeah, look at that. 30, the real price of this guy is 33 cents. This guy is 1 cent. Okay, 30 times the price. So that's just silly. Yeah. So with the previous discussion, approach, are there other options to achieve the intent and stuff? AI answer, yes. Beyond the two approach already discussed, stuff and things. Macro generate an inventory registration. Oh, what is that? Instead of changing the registration code site. No, I don't like that. Why do I don't like that? I don't like the global collection business. It's interesting, but I don't like the collection business. I don't like it because yeah, I don't like it. I don't want that. No, I don't, because otherwise when I load AIProg, everything will be registered all the time. And I want to allow to do the thing, so I don't like it. The refinement approach of Arjan is avoid passing the const explicitly. Yeah, the macro generates okay, plus a const, okay, in a predictable namespace location, okay. Inside the generated module, okay. Oh, okay, well. Attribute macro can wrap into a type meta struct written by the function. So this one is what? Attribute macro that wraps into a type metadata struct written by the function module. No global state. Okay, so that I prefer this one. Oh, okay, that's not bad. That's good. I like that. So that it will generate this function with the doc and the stuff. So far so good. Gain an overload. Oh, yeah, but now we need to have this other guy. Okay, but then we need to pass another guy here. I like this one better than the const in a way. It's more flexible, I guess. But yeah. No. Parse the doc command via a build script embedded in there. No. Yeah, option E. I would favor option E, meta. The thing is, I'm saying is, yeah, I'm trying to see. I think is the thing is that works with schema RS is because schema RS is a type. So I guess you can implement stuff. Here is that you have to make it a type with stuff. It's funny. So yeah, so give me more options. It's not necessarily the option I like. Option B, deep integration generate handler with struct API handler. Yeah, that's true too. DVP. Too many options is prison. Yeah, I like that. It's pretty good say actually. Yeah, that's pretty cool. AI serums. Well, yep. I'm going to have to work on that one. Honestly, so if there's this stuff here. Those are what we have as options. Yeah. You have the lightweight const approach, which I don't really like because otherwise the registry needs to have the other guy. This guy is the option B is the one that I prefer from an ergonomic standpoint, I think. But then, yes, the function, you cannot call it anymore, which is not necessarily a big deal because it could be a wrapper. And then if you want to call something, you put it in a child function. It's no big deal. And the primary goal of that is to expose it to Lua anyway. So this is not like a big issue, actually. But then it creates and wrap the stuff. And then the other one, this one is like static and all of that. I don't like this one. It's too intrusive. I want something that is part of the function. Yeah. And then we can cherry pick what we want to include and stuff. So I'm going to have to. So now the cool thing is I have this good chat. We're going to enter the stream here, but I have this good chat. I will go back to my to my terminal for that guy, and I will do a git ac git log to see where I am, macro handler, git ac options from DPro, DeepSeek Pro, and Opus. Okay, I don't know why I say that. It doesn't really matter. But now that I will have that, I will iterate. I will continue to chat, to iterate with it, and to try to come to a point where I say, okay, what is a good design? And then I will ask it later. I will turn on spec. And I will say, hey, now that we decided what to do in chat, can you create a spec? Okay, then it will create a whole spec of what needs to be implemented. So I will have a spec.md. Then what I do is I move this guy here. It's a little bit previous chat, okay, such as he knows the previous chat. Then I have the spec there. And then I go back here and I say, now that we know, and I will not use this guy, the Pro Max, we know what to do in spec, do the following. Do the following. Create the plan.md and implement the plan.md step by step. Okay. And then here's a trick, and you can copy stuff here. It's like in chat.md. So now I'm going to repurpose the chat.md. This is why I don't have chat.md anymore, because I'm repurposing it, making sure that it's on here. And I will turn the subagent. Yeah. And then I'm repurposing it. It's like keep track of progress, notes, and ask answer. And this is key. Question as they arise. So now I want the AI to work by itself, because I work a lot here. So it's not vibe coding, it's not this loop business, loop engineering, or crazy stuff. You work on the chat, you decide what stuff is going to create, you extract it, you ask AI to say, create a spec from the chat.md. So here you will have a clean spec.md of what needs to be implemented. You keep this guy if this guy wants to see the previous discussion, or you can delete it because sometimes he might add noise. And then you do that. And then you turn on loop. And then it will start running as stuff, and it will keep the stuff in chat. It will kind of ask itself questions and stuff. And then you can let that 10, 15, 20 minutes to implement it. And because the way that the lab.eko and the way to install lab.eko is you do something like AIP run lab, not lab.eko, lab loop. Okay. Oops. AIP run install lab loop. And it's a sub-agent. Yeah? Sub-agents are super powerful in the AIPack. They're not only sub-agents that run below, they can actually change the prompt of the main agent. So that is what this whole thing is doing. So it's getting super powerful. So again, this procoder and stuff, it's a little bit a ninja Sux kind of stuff, but then it's so powerful. And so that's why I'm trying to bring all of this goodness into a normal thing for normal people in zcoder. Yeah. But if you're not a normal guy, procoder is amazing. And so I don't want to lose all of this goodness. Yeah, you can really see what the AI is doing and stuff. So that is what I will do. And then I will do, hey, now that we have everything in spec.md, do the following. And the procoder will tell, he will know, the AI will know those are the files and stuff. And then it will start, create the stuff, and implement the plan. And then that's it. And we'll run it, and it will do this. So hopefully that was a good live, useful live. If you have any question, it's probably the time. One thing of DVP here, I should have an option to run multiple model and to give the output maybe. Yes, so I have a thing here. I'm going to show you silly stuff here. So if I do last stuff, So then a new terminal, make sure I have my keys. It's my little hack to have my keys there. And it's AIPack install lab at polychat. That is not really part of the procoder, but, and now you can say AIP run lab at polychat, and that will run. So you go to your lab polychat prompt, and you can see all of the AI models over there. Yeah, so I can flash AQ and stuff. I can have, so that is dflash, for example. And then I can have mini, so that's a GPD mini. That is all aliases, yeah? And write a little poem about snow. And then you run that, command run, you will find the guy, and then poof, you will run. And then you will have all the little poem here from AQ, from Flash. So you can see 3 seconds on this one, AQ did 2 seconds. So you have a little, so that is a little pack that allows you to polychat. Now, it's not what you were talking about, to say, hey, having multiple model. But the multiple model to ask option, honestly, I don't use that often. It's more kind of an exception than anything else. Yeah. So I'm going to move that. I'm going to put it back to chat, because the way I'm going to do it, as I was telling you, is I'm going to continue to chat with it. Then once in the chat, somewhere at the bottom, is going to be clear what I want to do. I will say, hey, extract the last decision, put it in spec, I move or remove chat, and then I do the prompt I was talking about here, those guys. And then that's it. So hopefully that was helpful. And if you have any questions, feel free to add comments to the live in the normal video comments. I will answer if you have any questions or the repo or whatever. And until next one, happy coding.